Izuku walked out of the shower room as he dried off his hair. With a yawn, he grabbed his phone, though instead of checking he looked at the window. Snow covered the windowsill and the entire window. They were officially snowed in. Thankfully the cabin was built for this, the heating system kicking in and keeping the household at a nice room temperature. Izuku checked his phone. 6 a.m. 6 a.m. Izuku scratched the back of his head. When did it get so early? Izuku sat on the edge of the bed, thinking back to the days he consistently got up even earlier to train with Bakugo before his quirk was taken. He had really been thrown out of practice. He still did his workouts, they just haven't been as consistently timed as before. He couldn't be blamed, he was watching Eri and he couldn't leave Eri alone that early in the morning. Izuku smiled to himself though. He may have lost his original training schedule but he looked behind him to see a sleeping Ochako, wearing nothing but an oversized shirt, peacefully dreaming away. He had gained something much more important. Izuku leaned in to kiss Ochako on the forehead before getting up and exiting the room. They were snowed in, and it didn't show any signs of stopping from what his phone said. Izuku walked down the wooden stairs to see Hima lying peacefully on one end of the couch, and Eri, who dragged her blankets from her room, sleeping on another end. Izuku chuckled as he stared at the girls. They could have been sisters, Eri the little sister, and Hima the older sister. Now that Hima was much healthier, she could enjoy life a little more, Izuku thought to himself as he walked quietly to the fridge to get a drink. However, something stopped him. The sound of small explosions and weights coming from the workout room. Bakugo. Izuku glanced at Hima for a second before making his way towards the explosions. What do you want, nerd? I'm busy in here, Bakugo asked, doing reps as Izuku watched from the doorway. You know, this is a shared room, Izuku said as he walked in, looking at the equipment, contemplating which workout he wanted to start off with. Izuku sighed and chose to do reps alongside Bakugo. Bakugo clicked his tongue but didn't argue against it as Izuku sat. I know what you want, nerd, and if you think. Bakugo started but Izuku cut him off. Then you should know that I'm not playing games, Ka-chan. Izuku said sternly, choosing some weights to begin with. Oi, who do you think you're talking to, you fucking nerd? Bakugo asked, continuing his reps. Izuku started his own set as he answered. There's only one person in here, Izuku said, muttering the number of reps he was on now. Bakugo couldn't help but slightly wonder what was giving Izuku the sudden confidence boost. Look, I want the truth. What's with your fear of Hima? Izuku said simply. Bakugo's arms slowly started to stop pumping the weights as he slowly turned to Izuku, his red eyes dilated and full of rage. Oi, maybe I heard you wrong. You didn't just say I was afraid, did you? Bakugo asked, sitting up from the bench. Izuku stopped his own reps as he looked Bakugo directly in the eyes. Yay, I did, and I'm sure it's more than just being too ghostly. Izuku said with unwavering eyes. Bakugo put his weights down as he stood eyeing Izuku down. Izuku looked up at the angry blonde with a sigh, also putting his weights down. He could never just have a normal conversation with Bakugo, could he? Izuku stood as he faced down Bakugo. Ka-chan, look, I don't want to fight. But with Hima here now you need to. Izuku was cut off by the impact of Bakugo's fist against his cheek. Thankfully, Izuku was prepared for this, having had 3% of one for all coursing through his body, just enough to not have lightning flowing around him. Izuku regained his balance, only having taken a step back from Bakugo's punch. However, Izuku did notice something. Bakugo hadn't used his quirk. Izuku quickly retaliated, turning off one for all, uppercutting Bakugo in the stomach. Bakugo took a few steps back holding his stomach, a single couch escaping from him. Izuku stared Bakugo down as the blonde collected himself. Not gonna use that borrowed power. Bakugo said with a smirk, getting in his fighting stance. Izuku frowned, getting into his own stance. It's not like you used yours. I'm strong even without my quirk, you know. Bakugo's face reconfigured once again to anger as he advanced, throwing a right hook at Izuku. Izuku sidestepped, the punch missing him by just a few inches. However, Bakugo's reflexes were in full gear. Immediately after the first right hook, Bakugo jabbed with the same hand. Izuku blocked with his right arm, though Izuku couldn't move fast enough for the left hook heading his way. The fist collided with Izuku's cheek. Izuku spun with the force of Bakugo's attack. However, Izuku grit his teeth. Used Bakugo's force against him. Izuku regained his footing, and instead of falling directly over, he instantly completed a 360-degree spin, prepping a punch as he spun. Bakugo, realizing the incoming punch, raised his arms towards his face, expecting a jab to the face. However, the fist sank into his side. The force knocked Bakugo to the side a bit, however, the teen stood strong. Izuku, however, was ready. All he had to do was remember Ochako's training on the beach, and afterward, faster hooks and punches came from Bakugo, Izuku barely blocking and dodging. Right, right, left uppercut, right jab, another left hook. Izuku ducked the left hook, landing a blow on Bakugo's stomach yet again. Bakugo, not fully recovered from the first stomach, stumbled backward into some weights. Izuku rushed forward, knowing this wouldn't keep the bomber down. Bakugo had quickly recovered as he sidestepped the punch Izuku had thrown towards him. Bakugo kicked Izuku back, once again advancing, quick and well-aimed blows landing on Izuku's defensive arms. However, they were even faster than before. Bakugo grabbed Izuku by the collar of his shirt, circled, and threw Izuku. Izuku crashed against the elliptical machine, bobbing a few times as the pedals spun against his back. Izuku shook his head, adjusting as he stood. Why, she's just a girl. You shouldn't be this afraid of her. Izuku shouted, advancing and throwing a kick and a right hook right after. After, I'm not afraid, Bakugo screamed as he retaliated with his own punches. Then why did you leave? You left her to fend for herself out there. What, you went to go look for a villain? You went back home. Izuku shouted as he dodged. I thought you wanted to be number one. Bakugo hesitated in the fight for the first time ever. His swing was slower than he initially meant for it to be. Izuku dodged, leaning back just a bit. Izuku grabbed Bakugo by the collar. However, instead of throwing as Bakugo had done, he slammed his forehead into Bakugo's, causing the both of them to fall to the ground. Both held their heads, each one pounding with pain. It felt like we were finally becoming friends somewhat. Izuku said, holding his head. You were acting tough, but you seemed to somewhat care as we trained in the gym hall back at UA. And on that hike, and then Hima came into the picture. You left because she has some mind powers. Can you shut the fuck up? Bakugo shouted back, instantly regretting yelling from the pain as he flinched. Baku, Deku, both looked to see Eri, holding a blanket and rubbed her eye, staring at the two from the doorway. Are you guys fighting? I thought you guys were friends. She uttered sleepily. Bakugo clicked his tongue, as he painfully stood. He walked out, passing Eri without a word, though Izuku swore he saw Bakugo glance at Hima before Bakugo made his way up the stairs. Izuku heard the slam of a door inside. Sorry, Eri, did we wake you? Izuku said as he too stood painfully. Eri nodded as Izuku walked over to the silver-haired girl, picking her up and carrying her back to the couch. You hungry? Izuku asked as he set Eri back down on the opposite side of a still sleeping Hima. Eri nodded. Izuku smiled as he covered the girl with a blanket and went back to the kitchen, now looking through the food cabinets, though he didn't know what he could possibly make. He wasn't a great cook, and honestly too much was going through his mind to think about learning how at the moment. He just couldn't understand it. Why was Bakugo so frustrated with Hima? What is it about her? She needed saving, and Bakugo just left. And now he was acting weird at home here in the cabin. It was infuriating. Izuku leaned against the counter, eyes closed and fingers to the bridge of his nose. Sounds like you've had quite the morning. A sweet voice said. Izuku tiredly opened his eyes to see the familiar brown-haired, curvy girl in front of him, smiling tiredly. Her hair was a mess and she still only wore the large shirt. Ocha, you're barely wearing anything. What if Ka-chan sees you? Izuku asked. Ochako gave Izuku a tired look of surprise. Did Izuku just give off a faint sense of jealousy? Ochako smiled evilly. Ah, so you don't want other guys to see me. Even Ka-chan. She smiled, leaning a bit in to hear his answer. Izuku blushed just slightly. Oh, of course not. Ochako is mine, Izuku said, scratching the back of his head. Ochako chuckled. Last night had clearly changed something in Izuku. She had never even remotely seen him get jealous before. Usually, all the jealousy in the relationship was from her. It was adorable to see him this way. What's so funny? I'm serious, Izuku said defeatedly. Ochako brought a hand to her chest as she collected herself, still smiling broadly. It was adorable, but it also gave her a bit of a confidence boost. Izuku only wanted him to see her. Don't worry, Izu. I heard Bakugo's door slam. I doubt he's coming out anytime soon. So, what happened? She asked. Eri went back to sleep, so we've got time before we have to worry about breakfast. Izuku sighed as he explained the fight the two had fought just minutes prior. I just don't get it. He's always acted so tough and strong. And always has been strong, so I don't understand. Well, that might just be it, Izu. Ochako said simply, grabbing a pot from under the counter and beginning to fill it with water. Bakugo isn't a one-hit wonder. He's more than just anger and power. You said it yourself just now, he acts tough. That doesn't mean he doesn't have his own insecurities. Maybe something about Hima brings something out he doesn't want to see. That's a surprisingly well put together answer coming from you, Izuku said in surprise. Ochako threw him a dirty look. What? I'm smart, you know, she said, a little irked. Izuku waved his hands in front of him. I know, I know. I mean, it's surprisingly put together for you talking about Ka-chan. He corrected. Ochako's face returned to normal, shrugging. Yay, that's fair, she said, turning on the stove. Let me handle Bakugo. Izuku furrowed his eyebrows. I really love you. Believe me, but are you sure that you want to handle Ka-chan? You told me I need to start forgiving him. I can't easily forgive him, but the only way to do that is through communication. It's worth a shot. Besides, you communicating with him just leaves you with knots on your forehead. Like that one there. I'll start prepping the food. Go to the bathroom and bring me some bandages so I can patch you up. Izuku nodded, still in disbelief at Ochako's plan, as he walked to the bathroom. Ochako smirked. A chance to tear into Bakugo's possible self-esteem issues. Sign her up.